When Tyler Buchner went into the portal, he instantly put a do not contact on his sheet. Okay. Everybody was talking about Auburn, 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 Auburn. I've talked to people at Auburn, and they said that they didn't talk to the kid. Like, they tried to get him on a visit, but they didn't really talk to him like that. He goes on a visit to Alabama, and within 24 hours, he is committed to the University of Alabama. Let me tell you what it tells me. It reeks of desperation. Alabama fans will come in here and rip me alive in reference to this take, but they have to start being more realistic about what's going on at their quarterback position. I told you this on last show. I went on with our friends at the charity stripe. I said Florida State from an LSU perspective would scare me more than Alabama does. Mm-hmm. Now does it make sense? Joe, this has been something that's been chirped at Alabama this entire offseason about what they have going on at quarterback. Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson at the current moment is not what Nick Saban wants. Nick Saban damn near said it himself when he was at the NFL draft and said he's going to come in, he's going to compete. Well, if you have a guy that you feel really confident in, Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson, why are you bringing in another quarterback? It makes zero sense if Saban has even remotely a small slither of hope for Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson. Why are you bringing another veteran quarterback? This will be the third year that Tyler Buchner is going to be a quarterback in college football. He's not coming to sit, in my opinion. He's coming to play. And I think Tommy Rees will push for him to play. And if Tyler Buchner is the quarterback at the University of Alabama, I feel better for other teams' chances in the West to take them down. That's just my opinion. What says you?
Yeah, to be extremely blatant, look, he doesn't transfer to Alabama to not play. I really do think he is going to be maybe not the day one starter, but a starter at some point this upcoming season. He's not making that decision to go to Alabama to be a backup. And I know that he was recruited by Tommy Rees. He's got all these ties to Tommy Rees. He's not going to that situation, a program that prestigious with that many accolades, the biggest and most recognizable program in college football. For him to go there, he's not doing it to sit. He could have gone to so many other programs. You brought up Auburn's, their quarterback situation's unsettled. He could have ended up at Florida. We talked about how they don't have anybody. And I'd even throw out there, he could have gone and done what Will Levis did, where he got beat out by Sean Clifford at Penn State, and then he goes to a lower level SEC team. He could have gone to a lower level SEC team, a lower level Pac-12, Big Ten team, started immediately, built up his stock, and then gone from there. But instead, he is going to a program that has a more difficult chance of winning and succeeding because of all the expectations. That is a hard place to step into. That decision was because he's going to start. Tommy Rees does not bring that guy in after everything that he's done for this kid to not start him. It's just, he's going to play. He's going to play at some point.
Well, and I agree. Do you think Tyler Buchner wants to give up on football? I don't.
No.
I don't think, so like you mentioned, he could have easily been the starter at Florida. Easily. He would have been out. He would have beat out Graham Mertz. And look, Billy Napier loves a running quarterback. It would have been a better fit for him, in my opinion, than Alabama would have been. He could have gone out to the Pac-12. He could have gone to the ACC somewhere. There's so many teams that he could have gone to, right? He decided not to. The first and only thing that he did was go to Tommy Rees in Alabama because, in my personal opinion, he is going to Joe. It's hard. Name a time that a transfer quarterback has gone into anywhere, like a higher name transfer quarterback, right? Like a predominant name. I think Tyler Buchner is a prominent name because he was the starter at Notre Dame last season before he got hurt.
And he was also, many people don't really know this about the whole situation with Tyler Buchner. He was a 4-star recruit. He was the 14th ranked quarterback in the class.
He was the highest rated quarterback in the class, was he not? Or second highest rated?
He was not, but here's the thing with him. A lot of people believe because of COVID, he didn't get to play in California his senior year. A lot of people believe that if he did play, I know a lot of people didn't get to play, but a lot of people thought that his progress was trending so far forward as a recruit that he would have been one of the top quarterbacks in that class. So the talent is recognizable. A lot of people recognize that Buchner has the talent. He just didn't actualize it. He didn't bring it to the field.
No, the running is actual. Okay,
yes.
Not the throwing.
Absolutely.
You cut me off, so I forgot my point. But
Right.
I agree with you that I just don't understand the move if he's not going to start. You said that you don't think he's going to start immediately, but like I
Or
was
he might
mentioning,
not start immediately.
name a high profile quarterback with a bigger name that has gone somewhere. Look, we've seen multiple teams take in big time transfer quarterbacks. It literally just happened at the school that Tyler Buchner was at and Sam Hartman. Okay. Name a time that those guys haven't come in and start. Bo Nix goes to Oregon. Jane Daniels goes to LSU. Will Levis goes to Kentucky. Name the times that it's happened. I mean, for crying out loud, I know that he wasn't necessarily the starter the time that he went back, but Stetson Bennett even went back to Georgia, for crying out loud, and he would wind up being the guy, obviously, that started for them.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Hendon Hooker is a prime example of you don't have faith in a quarterback, and then you bring in another dude, and he winds up being the guy. I think that they're going to battle it out. Here's what I said this last show. And I think it's going to happen. Now, Jalen Milroe came out. Let me back up. Jalen Milroe's camp came out and said that he's not transferring. He wants to compete. Ty Simpson's leaving. What quarterback is leaving? Now, the Lonergan kid is not going to leave. No. He was the freshman quarterback, the midterm enrollee. He's going to play both football and baseball. He's not leaving. I don't think Eli Holstein is leaving. No. Okay, the kid from Louisiana. So is it going to be Milroe? Is it going to be Simpson? And it's obviously not going to be Buchner. I just think, Joe, that he's going to play a lot and he's going to start. And they might even battle it out. I think that there's a really big scenario week one that they roll two quarterbacks out there and say, let the best man win. But regardless if it's Milroe or regardless if it's Buchner, and quite honestly, regardless if it's Ty Simpson, am I supposed to be scared? Like, name a team right now that's scared of Alabama. Now, here's a caveat, and here's the flip side of that coin. Alabama has got is you know this, and I know. I think they're going to be better defensively from an athletic standpoint. Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's with getting Will Anderson out of there. I get it. I think that they're going to get better. And they have a really good class. They have They have a true freshman running back they think is going to start. Who do you have a receiver? You're talking about not Isaiah Foskey. Who's the Proctor coming James in and Proctor, starting at left tackle? Joe, when you had that many freshmen out there, you start having question marks. I just don't understand this move. And I think it's a real legitimate question to ask if Saban is slipping. Now,
well, so I actually, so like on that point, that was like the first thing that came into my head was this is a pretty strong indicator, and we're going to find out if it works out. Why is Saban giving Tommy Rees this much pull? Because this is a significant pull to go and grab the guy that you really liked, that you recruited to come and play for you at your current school. Like, do you really trust Tommy Rees that much after he hasn't proven anything? That's what I don't fully understand is like, why are you going with his instinct? Again, you're not going to bring him in for good competition for the job. Buchner's not going there if he wasn't guaranteed some sort of playing time. He's not, because him transferring out is difficult now. It's very difficult.
What do you mean by that? Expand on that.
Well, don't the transfer rules prevent him from bouncing to another spot without having to sit? I don't feel the transfer rules are really confusing.
Yeah, I mean, so in theory, by the book, you're correct. Okay, unless he graduates and be a grad.
He's too young. I don't think he can.
Well, I mean, this will be his third year. I mean, he can look. We've seen guys graduate in 3 years. We saw Burrow do it. I mean, but Burrow's just a gangster. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, but we've also seen JT Daniels transfer. I mean, how many schools has JT Daniels played for? 6, 4, 5, 4, 5. USC,
5?
Georgia, West Virginia. Now he's at Rice.
Yeah, but he graduated and he's been around for I think he's my age. I'm pretty sure he's my year, or he's the year after me, which is ridiculous.
That's insane. I don't really know. I don't really know. Here's what I do know. There's nobody with a pulse. The only reason that people have hesitations, okay, in reference to not saying Alabama is going to have a down year, is because of Nick Saban. And you're right, right? Like, you're 1,000% right. You cannot count out Nick Saban and this team and his team. You can't do that. They're too talented at other positions. But, Joe, for me, the quarterback position is the biggest position in sports. It is the most difficult position in sports, maybe outside of pitching, which people say, oh, you can't say that. No, the pitcher dictates the game, in my opinion, more than what most positions could and do.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just telling you, this does not scare me whatsoever. If I'm any team that has Alabama on their schedule, I could literally name other quarterback rooms right now that are better than the University of Alabama. I think Georgia is one of them. I think Tennessee is one of them. I think LSU is one of them. There are better and more dynamic quarterbacks at other schools right now. And let me just throw this out there. I think Connor Weigman is a better quarterback at Texas A&M than what you have at Alabama. He's better. He's going to be better.
I don't disagree, but he's not totally proven. And I will give
35 for 300 yards against Ole Miss. It's kind of proven it to me. You know who he's more proven than? You know who? Let me tell you who he's better than. Tyler Buchner. I don't think that people, and you can allude to this. Let's talk about him being Tyler Buchner on the field.
Okay.
He is a ridiculously good athlete.
Yes.
Ridiculously good athlete.
Very smart kid from what has been described.
He throws the ball like Brucey from the longest yard. He might be. I mean this with all due respect to him. He might be the worst thrower of the football in the SEC. Now, I'm going to tell you something that Notre Dame fans will not like.
I'm sure I won't.
I know that you hated Drew Pine. I get it. I know that you hated him. You know who Drew Pine is a better quarterback than?
No, he's not. He's absolutely not. He's absolutely not.
So, at some point, the stats have to matter. At some point, the production on the field has to matter. Let me tell you why he is. You legitimately were getting your teeth kicked in by Marshall.
Yeah.
And Drew Pine was the quarterback that beat teams like Clemson and others to get them to 9-3. There is no way that you can sit here with an actual real take, and tell me that Drew Pine is not better than Drew Buchner. Does Drew Pine have the worst arm in college football's history? Probably.
Yes.
But wins in college football and how the offense is being run has to matter.
It's the same thing that I bring up with Stetson Bennett. He didn't beat Clemson. Notre Dame's defense beat Clemson. He is not the reason why they won a lot of those games. A lot of the games that they lost and they played poorly in were solely Drew Pine's fault. The way that they played against Stanford was Drew Pine's fault, and the play calling by Tommy Rees. Those were the limitations that held them back. Drew Pine is fine, but Tyler Buchner is more physically gifted and was a better quarterback against Ohio State. What I saw from Tyler Buchner against Ohio State with no receivers to throw the ball to was a very positive indication of what he could be. He played like crap against Marshall. He got significantly hurt, and then he was out of the game. I'm not holding that against him. I'm one of those people who, and I say this a million times on this show, just because the guy plays in a couple games and one of them is bad, I'm not going to hold him against the bad game that he didn't finish because of the injury. It's just like Trey Lance. It's the same deal here, where if you didn't play enough games, you got time to prove yourself. I think that Buchner does. I know that you don't want to agree with this, but I think Buchner has a capability to succeed at Alabama.
Yeah,
I think it's possible.
Get better at throwing the football, though. He's one of the worst.
I don't disagree, but he's one of those players who, if Tommy Rees, and he's not going to, but if Tommy Rees knows how to set him up properly, kind of actually what they did in the South Carolina game, where they used him as a runner very effectively. If
they ran Wildcat on a team that had 12 starters out.
if they can find ways to incorporate that into the running game like they did against South Carolina and Buchner is the starter, I actually think that they have a shot. But to your point, they do need to refine and work on a lot of his throwing mechanics on a lot of those issues. Yes, that does absolutely
Tyler
need work.
Buchner went 18 of 32 with 2 interceptions against Marshall. Drew Pine comes in. He goes 3 for 6. He throws a pick. Okay, cute, cool, doesn't matter. He also is more effective in the passing game. You know what? He was. I get your Clemson take. I understand your Clemson take. But when you run for 260 yards against Clemson, okay, well, he doesn't have to be perfect. You had more wins under him. You knocked off a top 10 team with Drew Pine. Tyler Buchner has not shown anybody anything. Oh, he's a great athlete. He's got great traits. Well, let me tell you what doesn't work in the SEC. You know who you can ask? You know who I'll give you his agent's phone number right now. You know who you can ask?
Who?
Anthony Richardson.
Tyler Buchner literally beat an SEC team in a bowl game.
Let me finish this thought. If you cannot throw the ball and be consistent in the passing game in the SEC, you will not win. It is the bottom line. It doesn't matter if you go back 10 years, 20 years. It doesn't matter. If you cannot be effective in the passing game in the SEC, you are going to lose. You got to complete a very high rated percentage in the SEC to win. Joe, the statistics of quarterbacks that have won the SEC, you know what their completion percentages normally are? 65% or better.
Okay.
Tyler Buchner can't even count to 65, much less throw for an accuracy percentage of 65. He has to drastically improve.
Tyler Buchner beat South Carolina, and I get it. You tell me that they're missing some of their starters.
They had 8 defensive starters out. What are we talking about?
He still beat an SEC defense after missing the whole season due to injury. He stepped into a game with nothing to go off of it. He was thrown into the fire because Drew Pine last second decided to transfer. That's a tough situation to step into. He was clearly blatantly unprepared by Tommy Rees.
He also threw 3 interceptions against 3 DBs that weren't there.
My whole point here is that if they fail and this doesn't work out, it's more on Tommy Rees than it is on Tyler Buchner, just like his development wasn't great early on because of Tommy Rees and not because of Tyler Buchner.
Tyler Buchner still went 18 of 33 with 3 touchdowns. That's fantastic. He also threw 3 interceptions. He is a turnover machine. You cannot turn over the football in the SEC and win the conference. That is just let me ask you this question. Do you think South Carolina with 12 dudes missing is better than what he'll see in the West? I know you hate A&M. They were the number 1 team in the country in passing yards allowed. Do you think he's going to get better against LSU? Do you think that Arkansas, who also runs the football at a high clip, that it gets any easier? Do you think that Auburn, God forbid, if Hugh Freeze figures something out at Auburn offensively and they're scoring at a high rate of pace, do you really going to sit here and tell me that Tyler Buchner can go blow for blow with Hugh Freeze? Pause. He cannot do that. Everybody sits here and tries to convince me about traits. It's different for different teams. Okay. It is different for different teams. The stats don't necessarily look, there's 2 sides of this coin. If he threw 3 interceptions, but the man's got an absolute cannon and he's just a wild man, if he's Brett Favre out there, I'd be like,
or Anthony Richardson,
I would be like, okay, well, Saban getting that let me say this. If Saban would have an Anthony Richardson, they would have won because Saban would not have allowed for those turnovers to happen. This man's not Anthony Richardson.
Just as you said, it's different for different teams. He's stepping into a situation where the offensive line at Notre Dame was probably better than the one he's stepping into right now. But he's going to have better receivers, and he has a better defense to support him. He's got, I would argue, a better potential running game with the running backs that are available to him in Alabama.
Logan Diggs did just go into the portal, just throwing it out there.
They're probably going to go and get Logan Diggs. From what it sounds like, there's a strong possibility that that Logan Diggs likes Tommy Rees, so that might be a pairing, or it might not be. Besides the point.
Okay.
full year, fully healthy, full training camp at Alabama compared to Notre Dame. If he can do what he did against Ohio State every single game, at Alabama, they will be fine. He played a good football game against Ohio State, and he had nobody to throw the football to. Nobody.
He can't do that in the SEC every week. Okay, you have said a big team. Sounds cute. Joe, they have they could potentially in November have a stretch. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Pull up the schedule. I don't know what their schedule is. LSU, Auburn, Georgia. He has not remotely faced teams back to back like that in his life.